I never thought my marriage could send me to hell. My name is Jessica Harper. I'm 34, from Atlanta, Georgia, and what I'm about to tell you happened on September 14, 2022. A date I will never forget. I want you to understand something from the very beginning. This is not a story about divorce, betrayal, or ordinary marital fights. No, this is about how my own choices, my pride, my bitterness, and my secrets pulled me straight into a place I thought only existed in nightmares, and how I barely escaped with my soul intact. That night, I didn't know I was standing on the edge of eternity. I went to sleep thinking about bills, work, and the growing coldness between me and my husband. By 11:47 p.m., everything changed. My heart stopped, my mind went blank, and the world I knew dissolved into darkness. What I saw next, I cannot fully describe without trembling. Flames taller than buildings, screams that pierced my very bones, and souls contorted in ways that made my stomach churn. I realized in that terrifying moment that I wasn't dreaming. I was being shown the consequences of my own sins, my own bitterness, my own neglect of God's mercy. And it all started with my marriage. Before I continue, I need to take a moment to thank each of you who has joined this channel and supported these stories. Honestly, I wouldn't be sharing my testimony today without this community. Every like, comment, and message reminds me that people are seeking truth, hope, and sometimes a warning about what really lies beyond this life. I know some of you have been through things I cannot imagine: broken marriages, betrayal, fear, doubt, and yet you choose to listen. That matters. It matters more than you know. I hope my story doesn't just shock or scare you. I hope it encourages you to look deeper at your own life, your own choices, and your own faith. Thank you for allowing me to be honest, vulnerable, and raw here. Your presence gives me courage to tell the parts of my story I never thought I could say out loud. My name is Jessica Harper, and as I said, I'm 34, living in Atlanta, Georgia. But the Jessica you see today, relentless, cautious, and terrified of losing my faith, was not the Jessica I was before that night. I grew up in a Christian home, attended church every Sunday, and even sang in the choir. On the surface, I looked like a devoted believer, but inside I was a mess, a combination of pride, bitterness, and secret sins that I hid behind a smiling face. I married young at 24 to Ethan, a man I thought was my perfect partner. Our marriage seemed ideal to outsiders: a successful career, a nice house, friends who envied us. But behind closed doors, things were different. I struggled with resentment, he worked long hours, and I felt invisible, unappreciated, and lonely. I often complained silently to God, asking why he had trapped me in a marriage that didn't feel fulfilling. I wasn't just bitter, I was also secretive. I lied about little things, white lies to avoid arguments, exaggerations to feel validated, and even moments of selfishness that I told myself were justified. I knew the Bible warned about sin, about pride, about judgment, but I brushed it off. I thought hell was something distant, for other people. I feared it intellectually, but never truly believed it could touch me, especially not for things I considered personal struggles within my marriage. I had moments of hypocrisy too. I'd pray, read devotionals, post inspirational quotes online, yet my heart harbored anger, envy, and judgment. I judged friends, neighbors, and even church members, thinking I was better than them because of my outward faith. In truth, I was lukewarm, one foot in the church, one foot in the world. Looking back, I can now see the pattern clearly. My marriage didn't make me evil, but my pride, bitterness, and disregard for God's guidance created cracks in my heart. I wasn't ready for the spiritual consequences of my choices. I thought I could live a good enough life and escape the weight of my sins. I had no idea how wrong I was. And then, on September 14th, 2022, all of that changed in the span of a heartbeat. I went to bed thinking about trivial arguments, my growing distance from Ethan, and my frustrations at work. I had no idea that by 11:47 p.m., I would be stripped of every pretense and thrown into a reality far darker, far more terrifying than anything I could imagine. It started so suddenly that I barely had time to process what was happening. I was lying in our bedroom, staring at the ceiling, replaying another argument with Ethan in my mind, feeling the familiar sting of resentment and loneliness. Then my chest tightened. At first, I thought it was anxiety, but then the pain became unbearable. My vision blurred. My ears rang with a high-pitched whistle, like 1,000 needles pressing into my brain. I tried to call out, but no sound came. The next thing I knew, I was floating above my body, looking down at Ethan frantically pressing on my chest. The panic in his eyes should have comforted me, but it didn't. A wave of cold swept over me, and before I could even think, I was being pulled, not gently, not naturally, but as if invisible hands dragged me into a darkness so thick it felt alive. I screamed. I tried to fight, but the force was stronger than anything I'd ever known. And then, I saw it. Flames. Not like a candle or a fireplace, but walls of fire stretching endlessly, burning without consuming. The screams, oh the screams, ripped through the air, raw and endless. They weren't just noise, they were agony incarnate, vibrating through my bones, shaking my soul. I saw faces contorted in terror and pain, some twisted in hatred, others in despair. They clawed at the fire, at each other, at nothing at all. The smell. I can never forget it. Sulfur and burning flesh mixed with an acrid stench that burned my throat and eyes. I gagged, wanting to turn away, wanting to wake up, but I was trapped. And in the midst of the chaos, I saw familiar faces. People I knew, people I loved, some from church, some from work. Their eyes met mine, filled with pleading, hatred, and endless regret. A voice whispered. I didn't know if it was in my head or from the abyss itself. This is what your pride brings. This is what your bitterness earns. I realized, with a terror I cannot describe, that this hell was not just for sinners in general. It was personalized. Every hidden resentment, every selfish thought, every secret sin I had carried, every time I ignored God, it all added weight. And it was crushing me. I felt my soul being burned, twisted, stretched. Time didn't exist here, but every second felt like an eternity. I wanted to weep. I wanted to scream. I wanted to beg for mercy, but the voice continued, relentless. Do you see now? This is for what you have allowed in your heart. This is what your marriage, your pride, your bitterness, your lies have led you to. And then amidst the chaos, I felt a new sensation. A tug, not the dragging, torturous pull, but a gentle, almost imperceptible warmth. It brushed my soul like a whisper, and for a moment, I dared to hope. Just as I felt my soul being torn apart by the flames, a light appeared, not the harsh glare of the fire, but a soft, piercing radiance that cut through the darkness. It was warm, yet sharper than anything I'd ever felt. I wanted to recoil, but something in me, something I couldn't name, compelled me forward. And then I saw him, Jesus. Not in a vague, distant way, but close, intimate, and alive. His eyes were full of love, yet full of sorrow. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. I understood his words in my soul. Jessica, this is not your end yet. Your time has not come. You were almost lost because of what you allowed in your heart, but I am here. Turn back now and live. I tried to speak, but I couldn't find words. All I could do was weep, my tears burning against the echoes of the screaming around me. And then he spoke again, softly but with authority. Your marriage, your pride, your bitterness, they have nearly destroyed you. If you continue on this path, you will return here, but with no one to pull you back. Do not ignore this warning. Go back, live righteously, forgive, and love as I have commanded. I felt a sensation unlike anything in my life, a pulling, but this time it was gentle, guiding me upward. I could hear the fire fading behind me, the screams shrinking, and the oppressive darkness dissolving. My soul felt fragile, trembling but alive. I realized that mercy is not passive. It is active, intentional, and radical. God had reached into the flames to save me. Even when I was blind to my own sins, I saw flashes of my life. Moments I could have corrected, words I could have spoken differently, pride I could have surrendered. Every sin, every small act of neglect, every lie, it was all laid bare, yet grace covered me. The realization struck me with unbearable clarity. Without him, I would have been lost forever, and my marriage, my pride, my anger, my resentment, would have led me straight back to that place. Then I felt my body again, cold and heavy on the bedroom floor. I gasped, drawing in air as though I had been underwater for years. Ethan was kneeling beside me, his hands trembling on my chest, tears streaming. I could hear his voice, muffled by my own sobs, asking if I was okay. But in that moment, I knew I had been given something far greater than life itself. A second chance. A divine warning that was not for him, not for anyone else, but for me. When I opened my eyes fully and realized I was back in my bedroom, everything felt different. I wasn't just breathing. I was alive in a way I had never truly understood before. The fear of death and hell had etched itself into my soul, but alongside it came a new clarity, a new purpose. My marriage, which had been a source of bitterness and frustration, suddenly became sacred to me. I saw Ethan with fresh eyes, not through the lens of anger or unmet expectations, but through gratitude and love. I began to forgive not only him but myself for the ways we had both failed. The petty fights, the silent treatments, the resentment, they all seemed trivial compared to the eternity I had glimpsed. I also changed spiritually. I began praying with real intensity, not just words repeated out of habit. I studied scripture with hunger, seeking to understand God's will in every aspect of my life. I confessed my sins openly, stopped hiding behind pretense, and began to live transparently, knowing that God sees every thought and motive. Even my relationships with others shifted. I became more patient, more compassionate, more willing to serve without expectation. I felt a sense of urgency, to live fully for God, to warn others, to cherish each day as a gift. I understood now that holiness isn't optional. It's survival. And in my quiet moments, I still remember that night. The fire, the screams, the despair. And I carry with me a conviction that shapes every decision I make. I am no longer lukewarm. I am fully aware that eternity is real. And I am determined to live in a way that honors the mercy I was shown. I need you to hear me. Hell is real. I saw it, smelled it, felt it, and I almost stayed there forever. Your bitterness, your pride, your secret sins, they can drag you there faster than you realize. Don't wait until it's too late. Repent. Forgive. Love. Live intentionally for God while you still have breath. Do not be deceived. Sin carries consequences. I warn you. And remember, mercy is real, but it won't last forever. Change now, or eternity will. I want to ask you, do you truly believe hell is real? Have you ever felt the weight of your own sins, or glimpsed what awaits if you ignore God's warnings? I urge you to think carefully about your life and choices. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your reflections, your prayers, and even your doubts. Thank you for listening. May God keep you safe, guide your heart, and protect your soul. Until next time, stay ready, and never take mercy for granted.